This is the Week in Sustainability from Sustain.Life. It's where our team of sustainability experts and practitioners share commentary to keep you up to date on developing stories and news.
Hello and welcome back to the Week in Sustainability. I'm Nicholas Sontag, Senior Manager for Sustainability here at Sustain.Life, and today I'm joined by Talia Lipkind, a product analyst on our team. Thanks for joining us today, Talia. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you do here?
Thanks, Nick. Yeah. So I'm on the product team, like you said, which means I essentially help prioritize and manage tasks across the engineering team, the business teams, and the sustainability team. So we're all sort of pointing in the same direction to build a best in class product.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad to have you on the show today. Today, we've got some new updates around electrification for you. Last week, the Department of Energy announced $3.5 billion in new funding for the electric grid. And this funding is a result of the bipartisan infrastructure bill that was signed in 2021. And it's intended to support the resiliency and the capacity of the grid.
I know a lot of improvements are needed for the grid to shift to renewable sources of energy. What types of projects will this support?
So, over the coming decade, we need to both increase the amount of electricity the grid can deliver. Since we're electrifying, we're adding more electricity to the grid or electric needs to the grid. And we also need to increase the distance that the grid can move electricity, since renewable generation is often happening in far out rural areas. So, it's critical that we make these improvements, or else the grid could actually end up becoming the bottleneck and allowing us to achieve our net zero goals. This funding is aimed at exactly that. It's going towards upgrading equipment to handle larger loads of electricity, and importantly, the installation of new large scale transmission lines, specifically 5 large lines that will span across the Midwest. So these will be crucial in supporting the transmission of renewable energy from all over the Midwest to population centers.
That sounds like a lot of important work. You mentioned resiliency earlier. How will this money be used to improve resiliency?
Yeah, a lot of this funding is also going to support microgrids. A microgrid is a local grid that has their own energy generation, which can be isolated from the larger power grid if there's a power outage. So, an example of this would be like an interconnected rooftop solar with battery storage that can be used as backup. This is important because weather related outages have almost doubled in the past decade from extreme weather.
Wow. It's felt like an increase, but 2 times as many weather-related outages is a ton. How far does this investment get us in terms of reaching our goals for a net zero grid by the year 2035?
Yeah, speaking of doubling, in order to meet that goal, our current grid capacity would need to more than double. So, this new funding, though it is a big first step in the right direction, it's still a long way from getting us towards what the grid really needs. Our second story today is on the automaker front. GM recently agreed to let workers at its EV battery plants unionize as a part of the United Autoworkers Union. This deal covers 6,000 employees at 4 different plants and then all of its future EV plants.
Wow, that sounds like an important shift towards a green economy that we talk so much about.
Yeah, it's so important. This shift is that we're undergoing has a lot of economic costs, but it also presents huge economic opportunities to create good paying, high skilled jobs. And this is a big win for the UAW.
Yeah, that sounds like a great start for creating an equitable transition for workers whose jobs will be impacted by the energy transition.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It also increases GM's competitiveness for those types of workers since there's really high demand for people with the skills needed for EV production. This kind of change could also put pressure on other automakers to either increase their wages or unionize their EV plants as well. And that wraps up today's The Week in Sustainability. We'll see you next time.
Sustain.Life is the leading and most comprehensive sustainability software on the market. To learn how we can help your company measure its emissions and take climate action, go to Sustain.Life. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this show on our YouTube channel or your favorite podcast platform. Thanks for tuning in. See you next week.